Welcome back to another episode of Pushing Back Chaos with me, Paul Melon and McFadden. I hope you guys are all well out there and you've been getting after it. I hope that 2025 has started strong. Are you joined by my regular collaborator, Mike? How are you, mate?
Melon, good morning. It's 1:30 here in the morning on the East Coast. I know it's the 3 a.m. as last discussed last week about the guy you can call 3 a.m. Well, we're going 1:30 just because
1:30 a.m.
it's convenient this week. No dead bodies, no burying anybody, no lime, no shovel. But yeah, we're here, we're here to knock out another one, man.
I did, just before we came on, I know it's pretty cold there. It's pretty warm here. So just for your info, right now it's 32 Celsius where I am, and it's 32 Fahrenheit where you are,
Hmm.
which is 32 F for the Aussies, and the metric people is 0 Celsius. Just as a data point, it's pretty cold where you are,
Yeah, it's about to get colder here.
and we're here. It's 90 Fahrenheit for the Americans.
Yeah, I noticed Melon. He's really expressing the dad outfit. He's got a white little button down and jean shorts, and I can't tell if they're New Balance shoes, but that's the trademark of all fathers in the world. I'm pretty sure. So he's holding them up. I don't know what
They're a
brand.
pair of they're a pair of we say Adidas. I think you guys say Adidas.
Uh, sure. Uh, anyway, Melon's in full dad swing today, and he's just super proud of it. He looks great. He was squatting like I don't know. It was a good like what 400 pounds the other day. You
It
sent me a
was.
picture.
It was. I
Yeah.
was I was at the gym with my son, and my program is like calling for 85% of my run rate max for three singles, and I did the maths wrong, and I loaded the bar up, and I thought I had 170 kilos on there, but I accidentally put 180 on, and Michael was spotting me. He's like, he was a bit terrified because the weight was pretty heavy, and I racked it, and he's like, "Wow, Dad, 180 kilos." I was like, "No, no, that's 170." Anyway, I was wrong. He was right. So I was almost 400 pounds, whereas I should have been a bit lighter.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It
anyway,
doesn't always pay to be a winner, especially when the math doesn't math, and it just kind of happens that way. But, dude, it's paying off because you look great in those jean shorts. Uh, what can I say, man? I'm a little jealous over here.
I do what I can. I do what I can. Anyway, Mike and I have been having a really great conversation offline, which we often do, um, being the good mates that we are. And Mike has been, prompting some really good thought. He's running a men's group where he is, and there's just some really great conversations happening around both of us. I've had some really special friends that I don't get to see very much anymore. An old pilot mate has been in town. We got to the Melbourne Open briefly, and some really great conversations with my mate Bevan. Shout out to Uncle B, as his nickname is. And Mike has been pushing a little bit around what practices and um, ways of being are we implementing in our lives like right now, not what sort of some new theory or some practices that we're reading about or things that we're interested in. Like, what are we actually doing right now to gain traction and move towards our goals? And so the topic today is going to be about intentionality and what we have been doing with intention in our day. Um, so just to start off, what I've been doing differently over the last couple of weeks, after some really great conversations with friends, and trying to stay open to people that I know have capability and integrity, which are the two things that I always look for in people. And some super capable people across the board have been giving me some really great advice. So I've been incorporating a different morning routine, Mike. I've been both Cheza and I have rolled this out, and it's really been quite a big shift. So I've been doing a little morning meditative routine, 15 minutes. I've been setting the alarm 15 minutes earlier during my work week, and on the weekends, just whenever I wake up, I do it. If I need the extra sleep, I just let myself sleep. But just a little meditative practice for 15 minutes, and I think we can all find that time. And I've been getting a huge return on that investment. So I've been doing 5 minutes of just focusing on my breathing and trying to release my thoughts, and thoughts will keep bubbling up, and you'll find yourself thinking about something, and you can just acknowledge it and release it and come back to focusing on the air flowing through your nose or your mouth, or your chest rising or falling. Just those breathing sensations are a standard way to sort of recenter yourself.
Hmm.
So after about 5 minutes of that meditative focus, I then go into a gratitude practice focused on yesterday. And I review all the steps in the day from when I woke up the previous day, every single thing. I try to remember the exact order the day unfolded in. And in each step, I find something I can be amazingly grateful for. I woke up in an amazing, like a soft bed, and I was warm and safe. I got dressed, in nice, clean clothes that, had been ironed and put away. I was able to have fortunate to eat breakfast and all of those steps, getting into a car that's, safe and well maintained and drive myself to work, and how grateful I am to be going into that building and working with all those Australian military pilots under training, and just every step of the day, thinking about how lucky I am to have each of those things. So from start to end. From that practice of having the gratitude element added for each of the steps, all the things, all the little things you can be grateful for, it's like the next thing that happens immediately is my brain goes into this abundant state, Mike, where there's just possibilities are popping up, things that I hadn't thought, like solutions start occurring to me, pathways for action start occurring to me, ideas, resources, people, opportunities are all popping up in my mind about things that I want to address. And then I have 5 minutes of thinking intentionally about the day to come. What are the key things that I want to get done? What are the key solutions to engineer for difficult things that I've been working on? And then boom, I get up and go. And I've been opening my day then with exercise and then off to, and then get after the day. The outcome I've been getting from this has been, I feel like normally during the day, if I've got 100% bandwidth available in the old mental CPU, I feel like about 15 to 20% of the day is spent thinking about the past, thinking like a bit of ruminating, like what happened then, and who was the person who said that, or what happened here, or what was the commitment out of this thing. And it's like a reviewing the past element of the day, which I think is normal. I just haven't been having that. That 15 to 20% of thinking about yesterday and the past has really, really dropped away almost to zero. Just on clearing up and filing away yesterday, it just seems to give me maybe 20% more focus, 20% more bandwidth to think about what's coming up. So that's one part of it, which is really like, it's quite a surprising thing. I've had friends and family tell me to meditate for years, and I've sort of tried it, but I've never really had the practice stick or found it effective. But just that alone would be worth doing it, just a review of yesterday. I can't tell you how much it just feels like you've just got everything is filed away, and it's like a clear desk in your brain is what it actually feels like. Your pen and paper are sitting there and there's no mess, and you can just like get in and get into work straight away. And then the added part of just going through and thinking about all the little things to be grateful for. And it is surprising how many you can find. Like I feel like it's every single thing in your life, especially in the West, is something to be grateful for. That any moment, the sunset, the water, the warm water in the tap, the ability you've got clean clothes, all the things are something could be taken from you, and you can find a way to get grateful for. This gratitude practice just immediately leads to abundance thinking. Just your brain goes to multiple options, just streams of possibility in front of you, pathways that you can select. Your brain goes from, rather than being stuck thinking about, man, X is happening and I can't do anything about it, into how can I, is like the start of the thought, and address whatever that problem area is. How can I exercise better? How could I eat better? How could I improve my relationship with my wife? How could I improve my relationship with my mum? How could I advance my career? How could I bring in more finances and resources for the family? And that abundance thinking is just, I feel like that's like having a rocket booster on the space shuttle, Mike. So I'll be doing this morning routine, 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes review of yesterday with gratitude, and then 5 minutes of then intention setting and solution generation for the big stuff in the day. So that's been my morning routine.
I absolutely love it. There are no superpowers in this world. There's nobody shooting laser beams or being able to pull out a cape and go fly.
I
But
thought you did that. I thought you really did that.
I tried, but clearly, dude, I messed my leg up and I came down and
Oh man.
I'm not a good flyer. So,
I was just telling someone about you and your dodgy ACL, mate, and the fact that you didn't have one and you kept training. How long did you keep training for without your ACL?
like 2 months.
Fucking idiot.
I
Anyway,
know. I know. Say that again. Yeah. Yeah. No, what I mean by that, man, is like a superpower, right? You're not waking up and just putting on your cape and going fly around the world and you're like, yeah, I got everything in control, everything's fine. It takes action and commitment, right, to start out when doing something like Melon's talking about. I don't hear guys talk about this. I really don't.
mm,
I don't hear anybody really talk about this. They're like, hey, what do you have this week? Well, I got to prep. I got to do this. I got to get up and I got to cook. I got to meal prep. I have to show up at work at this time. And then once I'm at work, same old grind and get back to this and do this or whatever. Then I got to get home and make food for the kids. And then they got to go to this and they got to go to that. And it's just like all you hear a lot of is I, and then have to, have
yeah,
to, have to,
yeah,
have to, have to. And then they're like, yeah, and then by that time I get home and I'm exhausted and I'm going to bed
yeah,
and then wake up, rinse, repeat. I can't wait for the weekend. And it's like, it's only Monday.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
And busyness goes with that. Like just you're constantly busy, you're constantly stretched, you
Mhm.
constantly don't have enough resources for the task. You're constantly in a state of stress.
Yes. And why is that more common than hearing what you're saying about waking up, taking the time to pause, reflect, find gratitude within it, man? Because we talked about this before. We are extremely fortunate to have grown up in the West in a
Yes.
culture of order and values and discipline and good
Mm.
economies, okay? Like
Safety.
safety. I mean, so there's a list that we can lift out right now. I mean, we've been in places where you mentioned sleeping in a bed and putting on clean clothes. That is a dream for probably, I don't know, at least 70% of the world. At least. Like if you
And
really
if you
think about it.
and if you wind the clock back, you only have to go back 4 generations at most. And the mass majority, even of the West, were dirt poor. Go back 5, go back 10 generations, and the estimate is there's 10,000 generations of humans before us. Like if you can't find something to be grateful for, Mike, I feel like you're not. It's an imagination failure. You're not thinking about the reality of what it has been like for the majority of people before you and for the majority of people living now.
Yes. It's we get lost in the busyness, as you said, and there's so much distraction, especially with I mean, let's face it, there's so much distraction with having a phone and a smartphone right next to you with the
Yes.
addiction of scrolling mindlessly and just looking at stuff that doesn't matter and instead putting that aside. And what I wanted to ask you, Melon, is when you do wake up in the morning, you say you
Yes.
wake up 15 minutes early. You talked about some of the breathing exercises, you do, and you're searching and finding gratitude. And you mentioned pushing out some of the white noise type, as I like to call it, type thoughts.
Yes.
What is the room like, and what are you intentional about not allowing in? Like, what does that look like for that time period?
So, an example, just I've been doing it every day for about 2 weeks, and just during the week, I was down at the base outside Melbourne about 2.5 hours, and like the alarm goes off, and I turn the alarm off, and then I literally lie on my back with my hands on sort of cross folded on my chest, trying to get my body comfortable, not on the side, which is sort of the spot I'd go to sleep, and I just have my eyes closed, and the room is dark. Is that your question? So like just the
Yes.
physical setup of what I'm actually doing? Yeah. So
Yes.
if I need to go to the restroom, I just get up and do that and come back and then do it. But typically I'm waking up and I'm just doing it for the 15 minutes when I wake up. And this is replacing my normal wake up, Mike, just forever has been wake up, check any messages overnight, check the news, and then get up. And if I compare how I feel 30 minutes after waking up, if I've spent 30 minutes reading news stories and, looking at messages and stuff versus not touching the phone for that 30 minutes and doing this 15-minute routine and then getting up and getting on with my day. I can't even tell you the different state of a mental alertness and how clear-headed I feel. It feels like I've already had a coffee compared to just that slow wake up that's been normal for me. And I agree. You and I talk a lot about the problems associated with mobile phone use and social media. I feel this is a real thing. And I am bringing this intentionality even to the phone use. So I'm waking up, just checking the time to make sure that I've got my timeline sorted, or canceling the alarm if that's woken me up. And then there's no reference to the phone. I'm using my watch for that. I'm not looking at my phone. And then I'm doing this, and there's a period before I pick my phone up. And I can't tell you, it is like a magnet's been held against the hard drive and the BIOS has been cleaned out. Like the processing just gets underway. It's that clear desk feeling to start the day, Mike. And it's just lying there in the dark room, do the breathing 5 minutes. And like on the weekend, Ches or I might be getting up first or second. And so, but both of us are doing this. So whoever gets up first then goes and makes coffee for the other one, and then sort of comes back and has that ready to go. And then it sets the state for the day. Like your day feels clear, what is going to be happening. There's not a churn of what have I got to get done today, and make sure I don't forget the thing, because you've already sort of reviewed yesterday. And it's like the key things that you need to get done in the day are sort of just nice and clear for you. And you've also these ideas and solutions have just been flowing. So like, I'm going to call this person and talk about that. And there's these potential pathways over here for these things. And just the array of options in front of you. And then flowing through the day, I've been using a second practice of having intentionality for each sequence as the day unfolds. So drinking my coffee, like really thinking, I really want to get mental alertness, energy, and clarity out of this cup of coffee. I'm really grateful for having it. Boom, drinking my coffee. Then arriving at work, walking into the building, thinking to myself, who will I be today? And funny, I think it's the same thing. I think every day when I go to work, I'm going to be the most positive person in that building as I walk in. And I have my identity that I'm really feeling is me now, which is I'm a joy-filled servant of humanity as I walk in.
Yeah.
I'm prepping, the first mission of the day, reviewing how I'm going to teach these different sequences, check that student's, previous grade sheets. And then I'm like, right, so who do I have to be for this student, for this mission? And it's very specifically different from student to student and mission to mission. Do I need to be tough? Do I need to be like out of that warrior, mentor, leader, friend? Those four, where am I slotting in?
Yeah.
What sort of a teacher do they need? Boom, and then I just manifest. And it doesn't have to be long, just that little pause before each thing. Right, I'm going to go talk to the commanding officer about something. What's my intention for this conversation, and how do I have to be with him? Boom, go and have that conversation. Right, I'm going to go exercise. What is my intention? What is my workout goal here? What weights am I going to lift for what reps? And what's my intention? What am I going to get out of it? I'm going to feel my body energized and lift. And I know that I'm, paying it forward to future Melon by taking care of the body in this moment. Boom, off I go. And this intentionality during the day layers with the little morning routine, the 15 minutes in the morning, and then just 10, 30 seconds or so, not long, before each little iteration of your day, each little sequence. And it all stacks up. And then the review the next day feels great, and you're off and running. And it feels like there's a huge momentum in this space. And there's been a bit of a massive attack as well. There's been a massive action plan I've been rolling out here, Mike, with 2 workouts most days, and been really direct with my eating and, work and family interactions. It's been across the board in all areas. There's been a bit of a shift.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been the heart of it. It's been this intentionality, gratitude to access abundance and solution generation, and then intentionality during the day for each sequence. And to quote the great Wayne Dyer, who has sold more than 100 million books, our intention creates our reality.
Hmm.
And so then the day that you've envisioned you're living and stuff will come up during the day, but it's like you're more clear and more nimble, more present, more on your feet, able to react to the day as it comes. And I'm sort of going to bed with I've either sort of achieved most of the things I wanted to or more, like more and different has sort of happened. And they've been like, the days have been really, you know, 8.5 to 10 out of 10 days each day. It's really been an extraordinary thing. So this is why Mike was asking me what have I been doing. And I've just really been in this really great sort of flow state with amazing conversation with friends, really great interactions with students, really great conversations with family members, great physical, like feeling good intake of food, great awareness of gratitude. And so intentionality, gratitude, abundance has been the thing. Thinking, who do I need to be for this next moment? And what am I aiming to achieve in this next interaction or event?
This is like a master class right here with Paul Melon McFadden, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're just gonna end the episode right there and go back and take notes. Uh, dude, it, you nailed it. Absolutely perfect examples and step by step process on how to go about this. This is something that I've been doing probably for the last year. Am I perfect on it every day? No, but honestly, I could say 6 out of 7 days a week, I'm really putting in the effort like Melon's talking about with the same things. Mine looks a little bit different in a thing,
Yeah, tell us. I'd
but
love
it's
I'd
but
love to
it
hear I'd love to hear about your routine,
yeah,
Mike. Like what are you doing to manifest this stuff?
so really every single time, right? And you already said it, man. I gotta have a vision, right? Like I have to know myself and know who I am and what I'm capable of. And I picture myself at random times doing certain things. Sometimes it's the night before I do these exercises before I go to bed because there's things that live in my head. There's anxiety, there's worry. Naturally, we're human, right? We're emotional
Yeah,
creatures, but we're gonna have things like that where I'm laying in bed and I can't think of like, oh man, I got this test tomorrow. Oh man, is all my travel stuff done? Oh man, is my gear all packed out? I know I'm missing one little thing that's gonna screw me, you know? And to sit there and sometimes I do meditation like he's talking about before bed and I reflect on my day. Melon likes to do it the next morning, which I think is good. Either way, I like to do
mm,
mine in the evening when I crawl into bed. It's been a hard day, long day. I'm showered, I'm clean, I'm fed, I got a full belly, and I'm like sitting there, man. And I sit up. My posture is very important to me because if I lay flat, Mike's going to sleep. Okay, so I gotta like prop myself up, lean against my bedboard with my pillow, and I kind of sit there. I put my phone off to the side. I have I have like a men's like daily devotional that I read, and it's like a half a page and like a little tiny thing just to reflect on. And then I sit there and go, did I meet that expectation today? Where what were three really good things that I had happen to me today? What are three things I can work on? All right. And I go to bed with a feeling of like, hey, remember, you can only control what you can control. And what I can control is, and Melon said it already, is who I choose to be in every single moment that's presented to me. That's really the only thing I truly have control over is who I show up as. And I
yeah,
know we talked about it before, and I'm building that class, the men's group that I'm starting next month, based on like what we talked about with Stu Weber, with the leader, the mentor,
yep,
warrior, the friend, and the lover. When I break those down and I see what I'm capable of in all arenas, so not just at work, but when I'm, with my girlfriend, when I'm with my friends, when I'm with, other teammates or we're doing work stuff, it's like I know who I'm supposed to be in this moment, right? And I can fluctuate between both. But I've already had that vision before I went to bed of like, man, when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna sit there and I pick three things that I'm grateful for. So I talked about this a
Mm,
long time ago. I have a whiteboard and I think about it while I'm in bed. I pick three things that I'm grateful for today, and I always try to pick different things, and I don't try to be general about it. Like, oh, I woke up with good food today. It's just like, hey, I woke up today, and my relationship with my mother is still solid, right? And I still
mm,
have her. I'm grateful for that. Man, I woke up today, and look what I get to do for work. How special is that? I get to go do this today. Man, amazing, right? And I'm very specific about that, and I try to pick it. I go out, I write it on my whiteboard, um, and I have a little talk with myself sometimes, and it's kind of like in a prayer where I say, thank you for letting me wake up today. Like today was not my day, because some people it was their day and some people didn't wake up, right? So a gratitude for breathing, for life, the bare basics, man, because I'm constantly reminded of places that I've been around the world where some families and people are living in so desolate, terrible places. They don't know if they're going to wake up the next day due to sickness, due to lack of food, malnourishment, like I said, disease.
mm.
There's war everywhere. There's conflict everywhere. They might be killed. They might be routed. There might be a mass fire that comes in and wipes out their village or something. Like there's so many different things that we don't always have to worry about. It's insane. And I really try to be intentional about that. But move with appreciation, with gratitude, but then it gives me the confidence and it's like I'm walking around with like this bubble around me of awareness throughout
Yes.
every situation where I'm like, oh, I'm taking in things that I normally wouldn't. I hear people say things specifically that I normally wouldn't. I find myself pausing more in deep thought before I respond because I'm like, this is different. I'm hearing this differently than normally that I would just run my mouth or have like a regurgitation of, a ton of thoughts come out that are discombobbled or something. And like you said, man, I feel this like flow state in a way,
Yes.
and everything is just better. Like you said, like your days are like 8.5 to about a 10. There's no point in my day really anymore where I'm not experiencing joy
Yeah.
in what I'm doing, no matter what it is. Like I'm happy moving throughout the day because I don't think about I have to, but I get to do this today, man. I get to wake up in a nice place. I get to wake up and have food. I get to wake up and go in my new truck. I get to go spend time with my friends. I get to help somebody today. Yeah, I get to lead. I get to teach somebody something that they never learned before. I get to do these things. Man, how wonderful is this, And and then you're done with a day, rinse and repeat, and you're like standing on the mountaintop being like, "Man, I want to go just one little step higher." I see myself going the next step, and I go to bed with
Yeah.
confidence and that awareness, man. It just clicks. And it's different because nobody else, I don't hear men in particular, I don't hear them talk like this. I don't see them
Yeah.
operate like this all the time. It's like we wake up in this state of like, oh, it's just another day, same old grind.
Yes.
Oh yeah, man,
Yeah.
we'll get to it. Yep, uh-huh. And they're missing so much.
And look, the thing is that, like, if you create your day with intention, if you are defining how you are going to show up in life, then you get to really be on the pitch and you get to determine the day. Is it a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, or we had a really tough day today and we only made it 8.5 out of 10. There was a really big challenge and I just had to, you know, dig deep and stick to my principles in that hard time and choose to be great. And you know what I mean? I ground out a day and it was an 8.5 out of 10. If you start stacking 8.5 to 10 out of 10 days, and you then start stacking 8.5 to 10 out of 10 weeks, you get very quickly going to be living a pretty amazing life because these things are like compounding. I've got another friend, and he talks about the one percenters that compound, like putting money in the investing it, and over time, the 1% of $100 in the beginning is only $1, but then later on, 1% of a million is a much larger amount, and the same thing can be said in relationships. It can be said with habits, with health, with diet, in all the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all 4 areas of life. If you're investing in your relationships, if you're investing in the communication, like the 1% improvement, like in my marriage now, after Cherry and I've been together 23 years, these 1% now are really big steps. Like you start to get this momentum that builds when you're stacking these. So if you consciously define how you're going to show up in life, you are the one, you have the intention, you are the one in the driver's seat. You are not just a character on the page. You are the person with a pen in your hand writing the story. You can create powerful context for action by consciously choosing who you are being. I'm going to be a person with integrity. I'm going to bring compassion to this situation. I'm going to bring brotherhood. Those are my three: integrity, brotherhood, and compassion.
Hmm.
And then you move through the day having purposeful interactions. So then you're going to have these days that Mike's talking about, and they're not all awesome days in terms of what's coming out the deck at you. But when you're focusing on yourself like this and who you are being and how many things you have that are blessings, that are absolute blessings that are easy to miss, you get into a state of free flow and you're able to, like I was saying earlier, stay on your toes and move through the day when the difficult moments come, and then slide into gratitude for the good bits and bring purpose to the bits that are difficult. And like I feel like these things, like being present, having that presence, then the intentionality, then the gratitude and the abundance. So this is like a great ramp for the day. And just in that little micro, like the 5 minutes of breathing gets you present, 5 minutes of intentionality and gratitude for yesterday, and then into an abundant state. And then just, it sort of comes up on your, it's like it's coming up on your feed, like the way your brain is running, to just have a bit of like a review. Oh, that was really great. Who do I need to be next? Like it becomes part of your day. And it has been happening like this for me. And this is an additional practice on top of, many years of trying to do work. And, I know Mike has been a huge impact on me, and these conversations we have with all of you out there listening have been a real impact. But I'm just sharing some real specifics that I'm getting real traction with at the moment. And I really feel that this is stuff that all of us can implement easily. And I feel like 30 minutes with your mobile phone in your hand in the morning can easily be replaced by 15 minutes of this. And you are going to, I feel, be tearing into your day.
One thing I think we should cover is you said not every day is going to be a great day. So I think a lot of people hear these processes and advice and act like, okay, if you do this on good days, like you're going to have great days. But what about the hard days? What
Mm.
about the days where you wake up and the whole world just went to shit? And you failed a test, or you have relationship problems, or like things going on, right? How hard is it to access this type of state, right? To get into finding gratitude when the world's falling apart, when the unknown is staring you in the face and it's scaring you, right? You don't know what your day is going to hold because something terrible just happened and you're going, now what do I do? Now where do I go? And all those
Mm.
natural questions are just bombarding you. It's like, does this work in there?
Yeah.
Well, I want to just say, I've said I've been doing this for roughly a year now. Well, there's something that correlates with it, and that was my physical injury of blowing my ACL. Going top of the world, dude. I was happy every day. I got to get up. I got to do the job I've worked my whole career for. I'm showing up every day, and then guess what? It's gone. Just like that. It's gone. You're not doing it anymore. You will never do it the rest of your life. It's over. And taking a blow like that, man, I mean, I've talked about it on here and Melon knows about it. I told him, I said, dude, I'm stuck at home. I can't even walk. No one's here. Like I'm by myself, and the walls start talking, you know. What did I do to try to push that 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 barrier back of all that negativity that was just creeping in. And I wasn't waking up at first being like, "Oh man, today's a great day." I was like, "Dude, today sucks. How long till I can get better? I just want to walk again. Like I don't, I want to skip all this dumb shit." And I want to get back to what I was doing. Like, this is life. I need to get here. I need to get here. I need to get here. But what I wasn't doing, and again, I had, Melon helped me out with this. Um, and also a couple of really, really great men that have been put into my life in my path they're just like, dude, you need to like look at the present. You need to like, you can't skip ahead. There's no time machine. There's no wishing and just hoping that things will get better. Like you can have good positive vision and thoughts and we all should and I pray about it. But you also need to take action, take inventory, and like really look at your situation and be like, what am I doing? So there I am feeling bad because I blew my knee. I can't walk anymore. I lost my job, and I'm sitting there by myself. It's like, well, how do I get out of that mindset when I wake up in the morning? Man, I started having thoughts and still forcing it and be like, you know what? Well, I'm not getting up and running into the kitchen because I can't. So I will take this time. I will take 10, 15 minutes. And I'm sitting there going, look at the new opportunities that I've been presented that now I can do. And one of them is like, man, now you're afforded the opportunity throughout your day, throughout your week, to speak to other people who are struggling with injury that are in the same mindset as you. And what an opportunity it is for you to find the positives in all of this, to see the next opportunity, and to share and communicate about it. Dude, when I started doing that, I'm at physical therapy surrounded by other people who blew their ACL, tore their Achilles, pec injuries, beat up from training, other accidents. I mean, and calling it real, there's people that are walking in look like whipped puppy dogs, and I probably was one of them the first couple days. And you're sitting there and they're just like, the chatter while you're on the table getting worked is like, "Hey, how's your day today?" "Fine, good. How are you?" Just like mindless chatter of like nobody's home. And you just see something and you're able to share something in the moment, like, say something positive and be like, "Man, hey, at least you get to spend time with your kids now, right? And you don't have to hurry up and get up and run out the door to go to work. You get 30 days off. When's the last time you had 30 days off for convalescent leave?" Like maybe you can take a vacation. Now you have the opportunity. Maybe you can sit and like color with your little boy or play catch, sitting on the thing. And you just see people's like minds start going a little bit. Like they weren't even in that space. They were so focused on themselves, on
Yeah.
something that was so negative that they weren't able to access like what you're talking about, Melon, is these visions and these thoughts of opportunity that start manifesting when you step into that space, and it's like one after another. And dude, it just brightens their day, when you can go about it. But it doesn't just happen. You have to
No.
pull yourself out of your own mind and your own like uncomfortableness to be like, "Oh man, I'm a broken piece of shit now and everyone hates me and I can't do anything." And you're just living in that negativity, and you look outward and go, "Man, how can I use this? Like now I have other opportunity that I never understood before." Like before this, I never knew what it was like to be majorly injured.
Yeah.
I tried to be compassionate. I tried to have some empathy or sympathy or whatever for other people who had injuries, but I never been like that. Now I understand, and now I get to speak about it, and it's like a blessing in that sense of like now I can help somebody that's injured because now I get it. What a great
Yeah.
opportunity. And there's goodness in that.
There is. This is such a good point, right? Because I feel like this is the key. Like I've said before, and we've said before, that it's not how you live with victory, but how you deal with defeat that defines you. And it's not how, what do you like when you win the Super Bowl? That doesn't matter. It's easy to be great when you've just, nailed a deal for $1 million or whatever for your business. Or, you've just hit your graduation milestone, you're getting your wings put on your chest. It's easy to be great on those days. But what do you like when the chips are down and you've been told that your wife has cancer?
Mm.
Like that, those days are the days that really count. And so one of the things here is you need to get reps in when things are going okay. Like we're all going to be put in a situation. We're all going to get absolutely terrible days. We're going to be given, those moments like your parents dying, like your loved ones having serious health issues. They are coming for all of us. So, like, that's not the day to learn how to do this. You need to get some reps in. You need to be the kind of person who can flip minor things and turn yourself around when you get a minor upset. So that you start stacking reps, you start building a bank account of times that you've done this when you're stuck to your principles. There's a bit of a blemish, someone cut you off in traffic, or person at work said the thing, and you're able to be, no, I'm not gonna respond that way. I'm gonna choose the higher path. So doing this as a habit, building this as a habit, finding the gratitude, setting intentionality, moving through the day with purpose on your 8.5, 10 out of 10 days. That's going to give you like a practice that you know how to do and you're going to be able to implement. Because those days when you're getting nailed, those days when you're told that your daughter's going to be a late term miscarriage at 22 weeks, they're the days that count. The days when you win the Super Bowl, the day when you land the massive contract, how you react then is really unimportant because you've got the win. But how do you turn things around when the shit's really come down the pipe at you? So on those days when you're getting nailed by life, they're the days when you have to live your values. You have to be the kind of person who can focus on how do I want to be remembered?
Hmm.
What kind of those are the days when you're building your eulogy rather than your resume. You're not taking activity that's making you look shiny on Instagram. You're building things that people are going to say about you when you're past. You're building things that family members are going to talk about you in the future. And they are opportunities. They are all opportunities. And there is like a superpower that we access when we choose to be great in the hardest of times. If we choose to continue acting with integrity and we choose to continue to apply our principles, the things that we've really thought about, like, no, this is how I really feel about these things. These are the things that are important to me. These are my principles in this area. When shit comes down and it'd be super easy to fold and do the dodgy thing, and you stick to your guns and you continue to act with integrity, that is when you're going to access some kind of superpower. And with that, you are going to be able to be the person your family needs.
Hmm.
You're going to be able to be the person that your community needs. And you're going to be able to deliver some kind of a miracle. You're going to be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat on a day of darkness.
I love something Dr. Jordan Peterson shared about this the one time. He said, you should be training yourself to be the man you want to be on the day of your father's funeral,
Yes.
right? And that's what Melon's talking about is like, we all want to wake up and have great positive days, but we should also be actively thinking about the hard times ahead, which are guaranteed. Like they're going to happen, right? Not every day is a 10 out of 10 day. Some days are going to be a 1 out of 10, like a day like that. Like Melon and I both lost our dads at a young age. He was 11, I was 18. Looking back at who I was at 18, the day of my father's funeral, sitting there, I was not prepared, man. And I wish I would have, I can go back and be like, I wish it would have been better. I wish I would have said different things. I wish I would have engaged with family and friends differently and shared more. So many different thoughts, right? And I can't go back and change it. And here's the tough thing, man, but this is life. I have been blessed to have my mom this entire time. And who am I going to be when I get the phone call that my mother's passed. What kind of man is going to show up at that funeral? What kind of man is going to deal with the arrangements, with the will, with speaking about my mother's life, and going about it? I'll tell you, man, if I'm being honest, man, I think about that probably at least once a week now that my mother's getting older. And you just naturally worry, right? A son, a son's gonna worry about his mother all the time. Um, Man, I visit myself. I think about like, man, what would I say? What am I gonna wear? Like, what parts of her life am I gonna share that are gonna have the most impactful stories to share with the family or with friends? Because ultimately, it's like I want to celebrate her life, and I want to nail the execution perfect so that everybody could celebrate my wonderful mother's life. You know, that's the type of thinking I visit sometimes, man. Not just everything I'm grateful for and everything else, but also too, who am I going to show up in the hard times, right? And we tend to remember the harder times better than the better times. I don't know why that is, if that's human nature or something.
It is.
It's like watching a car crash on a NASCAR thing. It's just like, oh, look how terrible that was. Hey, let's replay it real quick. Let's watch it six more times in slow motion. It's just like, oh, how about the guy that's still in first place? Let's look at the no. We want to look at this. So it's weird, but visiting that stuff and openly dealing with those negative emotions that show up is like a daily commitment to chip away at at that version that I don't want.
Mm,
So I wake up and I feel scared, like, man, I don't want to lose my mom. That scares the hell out of me. It makes me feel extremely sad. Okay, that's fine. But if you want to show up and be, that pillar of the family that speaks in beautiful ways about your mother and shares things, well, something has to change. So what can I do? What can I do one thing
mm,
today to make me better at that? Where's my deficiency? What can I work? How can I show up today and find an opportunity to speak about that? And dude, if life doesn't change its ways, someone loses an animal, someone loses a family member, somebody loses a friend that week, and they're like, hey, I got to go to a funeral and everything. And you can sit down and have the opportunity to like talk to them. And as crazy as that sounds, but Melon's saying it's a rep. You're getting a repetition in at getting used to addressing or being that, right? You find the opportunity. You pay attention and you listen. If you're so self-absorbed in your stuff and you're not listening and have the awareness of the stuff around you, other people are going through the same stuff. And you
mm,
can hear it, you can see it, you can recognize it, you can engage with it on your terms, not waiting for it to sucker punch you and then catch you off guard, right?
yeah.
And you can go around and confidently do that. And then when the day ultimately comes, you're like, man, I've been preparing for the worst day of my life for a while now, and I'm ready. I'm confident. I know who I am and what I'm supposed to be right now. I've taken action. You know, I've had all these great days, and it's led me to this worst day. But you know what? In that sense, today is still a great day.
There was such so good, mate. There was a Stoic practice that Marcus Aurelius, he's the Roman emperor who was a philosopher, amazing human being, like the most powerful person in the world. And he wrote all these amazing uh, quotes and statements down, and they got kept and were called meditations. But he didn't ever intend anyone to read them; they were just for him. And it's interesting when you hear them quoted a lot of the time, you sort of, sounds like great advice from someone. You're like, yeah, easy for you to say. But it actually was the emperor of Rome saying it to himself, telling himself to get out of bed when it's cold, stuff like that. Some amazing insights. One of his practices was to imagine the thing that you love the most, or the person you love the most, or imagine that it's gone. Imagine your own health, gone, your mobility, or your job, or your finances, or your personal safety, or your loved ones. And like it wasn't a practice to do it for an extended period of time, but it was just long enough to feel the feeling that it's gone, like feel what it would be like. And then, like a hard one was imagining your children having passed.
Hmm.
And then you release the thought and the gratitude and love that flows back into your heart that you're not living in that universe where they're gone. Like if you do these things, I guarantee that this is like a shield that helps block that whole taking for granted thing. Like if you've done that and you've thought about your child passing, I guarantee you're going to hug them a bit more when you see them next.
Hmm.
Or if you think about, imagine if I was freaking unemployed at the moment, how hard it would be to pay the bills. You probably would go into work with a little bit more energy and be like, right, I'm going to freaking crush today career wise to make sure that doesn't happen. Like there are practices that people have done that are related to this that can help us manifest who we need to be and who we should be and the person that we wish we were. And we can be moving towards that. And I'm not saying this pretending that I've transcended and become a ray of light or anything like that. But I have had hard times, and I know when I've been great in those hard times, and I know in sometimes in easy days when I've been, I've failed, I've given way to my weaknesses. But we can be intentional, and there are practices we can put into place about being present in the moment, focusing on who we have to be in the moment, focusing on us rather than the situation, that we can, as Wayne Dyer said, our intention can create a reality rather than our reality creating like our experience. So you can choose to be great in these hard times. And the way to do it is by getting reps in when the going is pretty good to average. And then on the really shit days, you're gonna have to buckle up and do your best. But I think you're going to cope with those hard days a lot better when you got some reps in. And meanwhile, all these average days, you're going to have driven a lot of them up. And the really good days, you probably have pushed in the 10 out of 10 range. And, that doesn't sound like a shit life.
And there you have it from the Stoic manifest of Melon we'll call you. Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
uh,
But yeah, no, this is all good, man. Like this is no this really is no like crazy practice. This is something that's doable. It's it's actually easy in a lot of ways. Like you do anything for like a week, it's tough. You do it for 3 to 4 weeks, it becomes routine. And when you choose to put these type of things in your life for your lifestyle, man, it just becomes like another tool for the toolbox that you're ready to go. Like you can access it and pull it every single time that you need it. It's just a choice to make it part of your day.
mm,
Or you can be like everybody else and fall away, get lazy, sit there and scroll on your phone every day, mindlessly for probably 3, 4 hours of the day when you could be taking that time to invest in yourself and doing exercises like this. You can turn the TV off, you can turn off the news, you can turn down the worst case scenarios that's breaking news, every 10 minutes, and really reflect on your life. Because, dude, I can't control 95% of the things that are taking place, right? I can control my emotions. I can control my reactions. I can control my thoughts. I can control my feelings. I can control how I speak, how I look, what I dress. All of these things are controllable. But the world and the noise and everything else, dude, that's always going to be there. Which one are you going to allow to win? Which one are you going to give priority over your life? Um, it's so much easier once you experience of being like, man, I see, and you give yourself credit. I think that's hard to do, especially as guys. It's hard to pat yourself on the back for doing a good job because then, you feel like you're being like arrogant or, beating
mm.
your chest, of like, oh, I'm so great, I'm so good. And it's hard, especially when someone gives you a compliment, you're like, oh no, really, I'm not that good. But y- you have to like appreciate yourself for the work that you put in sometimes. Like it's not an easy thing all the time. Sometimes it can be extremely challenging, but when you stick with it, man, and we always say this, someone's always watching. Like you're always watching yourself the hardest. We're our biggest critic. But if you got children, if your wife or your husband or somebody's looking at you and they're paying attention, or people at work, they're gonna notice and be like, that wasn't easy, man. Like I don't see that every day. Like look at them showing up as this. Like how did they do that? That's different. They didn't just wing it. They didn't just show up and be like, it's good enough. Good enough wasn't good enough. It's like they showed up today wanting to be great and they nailed it. There's something I really like about them, right? And it builds the great relationships, opens conversations, opens doors, opportunities. Just because you just because you took a little bit of time in the morning to reflect on things like this and implement it in your day. Because I guarantee you 90% of other people aren't doing this, And it's like the dare to be different. You want to live a great
Yes.
life. It comes back to that quote. If you, what is it? If you want to do things you'd never done, you better be willing to do the things you never did, right? Like
Mm,
somewhere along those lines. If
yeah.
nothing changes, then nothing changes. You need to make the positive change to move forward and keep push that chaos back, invest in yourself, and choose it every day. And gradually things get better.
Love it. I wanted, just as we're winding up here now, Mike, I wanted to include in that intention setting and intentionality, I also include stuff like recreation and celebration and so on, that it's not all, I'm now going from this one hard topic to the next hard thing and I'm pushing here and I'm doing that. It's like yesterday, I went to the Australian Open with one of my best mates that I've known since 1997, and I very rarely get to see him anymore. We're posted on opposite sides of the country, and I was obviously overseas internationally for many years. And so we went to the Australian Open and sat together, and it was we had several beers. We had quite a nice afternoon of celebration and sitting together. And so that is also part of it. It's like I'm going to sit with my friend, and I'm going to talk about old times, and I'm really going to catch up on who he is now and what's going on in his life. So you can bring an intentionality to that part too. Like it doesn't have to just be all hard work, but if you are intentional about it, you're much more likely to be present and you're much more likely to be getting, you know, an experience that you remember and, that you celebrate later. So just where we're winding up there, I just wanted to add that the intentionality can be brought to, you know, I've even heard, the thought that, right, I'm going to eat this chocolate. I'm like, I want something sweet and I'm just going to satisfy my cravings with it and then eat it rather than just shoving it in your head. So there can be intentionality to all parts of your day. You don't have to just be like, well, this is all the good stuff. And over here, I'm not going to be intentional with this stuff. I'm just going to sort of run through that part. All right. So we're reasonably deep into the episode there, Mike. Was there anything else you wanted to leave the listeners with before we wind up?
Well, I think just listening after this, if you haven't written things down or really thought about what your daily commitment looks like as far as, living in gratitude and looking ahead and having a vision for yourself and all these little exercise things that were given to you. Um, I'm gonna put out my weekly challenge of like sit down and think about this. Like, when do you have time to do it? Everyone has different schedules. Maybe you're not working a day shift. Maybe you're going and working like an 11 to 7 shift in the middle of the night. When and how much time do you have to sit and do this? Um, if you have to, write it down on a little sticky note and put it next to you because our brains can be scattered in the morning or whenever you have time. And just look at it and make a small little checklist of like, what am I grateful for today? What opportunities do I have today? Who do I have the opportunity to show up as today? And how do I want to
Mm,
look? What do I want to say? How do I, want to interact? How do I want to love my wife today? How do I want to let my kids know that I appreciate them, and make sure that they know it. I want them to feel it. Sit down, write it down, make time, and put it, and then hold yourself to it. If you have a partner, talk to them and see if they'll do it with you. Have accountability. Start your morning off, no phones, and sit there together and make it your own. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. I mean, you can sit across of a table and have coffee and just, I don't know, I just had an image of like going back and forth of naming things of like what you're grateful for today and start it off. Um, yeah, so that's the challenge for this week. This isn't just for good listening, but as Melon always likes to say, of like, I don't know. He changes sometimes, but it's like be say do, right? Like, you can't just or be do have.
Be do have.
Whatever, Melon, okay?
Be do have. Be do have, Mike.
But yeah, I need to reflect on that. Yeah, no, the yeah, you can't just wait until something happens to have joy or be happy, but like yeah, you got to be intentional like you said. So, take the time, plan it out, start being intentional with your life and be patient. It's not going to be one day, it's not going to be a week, but 3, 4 weeks down the road, then you can reflect on the whole month and what you did. You're going to see a change and you're going to be like, yeah, there's something to that. It's not magic, but I challenge you to do it.
Oh, I love it. And we'd love to hear back from you guys about other practices you've been able to implement in your lives and what has worked in this sort of area of intentionality and gratitude and abundance. And we reply to all messages. You can get us on the socials. If you're getting value from the podcast, we'd love you to subscribe, share it out into your community, and review it. Up to 5 stars, always welcome. And otherwise, we will see you next week. And until then, take care.